friends. My name is John Link. I'm superintendent at Jackson R2 Schools in Jackson, Missouri. Um, Entering my 32nd year of education, 19th as a superintendent. I spent six as an administrator and then another several as a basketball coach, a head basketball coach. And, I've always been thrust into a leadership position. And over my career, I think I've come up with some pretty good ideas of how to navigate through uncertainty. Some of the best leadership traits for me is the courage to think boldly and take action in times of uncertainty, and that's exactly what we're dealing with right now through this pandemic. So I want to give you three keys to navigating and leading in uncertain times. Uh, Key number one, you have to involve others. That's very important. You have to build a network of colleagues, not just your staff, but you've got to be able to reach out to other school districts, other team members, other business partners that you may have, because when you're going through a time of uncertainty, obviously there is zero playbooks out there to help guide you, zero experience to fall back on. So it takes a lot of good people, a lot of good ideas to make it through. You got to trust your team, and you've got to be able to delegate. Trust is something that you have to earn. And through your processes of delegating and listening and allowing people to make decisions, that teamwork is important in this area. Reach out to your employees. For me, my staff, I got to reach out to our local professionals, our doctors, our lawyers, our health departments. We have to gather as much information as possible because some of these decisions are the first time you ever made a decision like this, and even though it's not going to be research based, you make sure you've got some data. Reach out to students. For us, for a school district, very important to listen and give the kids their student voice, because I think when you give them a student voice, you'll be amazed at what they are thinking of. They're very creative. I think our kids nowadays are not only are they creative, but they got a lot of information, and they're not afraid to stand up and speak out. So student voice is a powerful tool. So number one, you'd have to involve other people. Number two, you got to have lots of spaghetti with your team and staff. And I chuckle a little bit, but that's the only way that we know how to do things around here anymore. Is we call it, we got to throw a bunch of spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. At this point in time, that's kind of how we make a lot of decisions. We just have to go around the table and throw out all these ideas and how can we do it and what's the consequences of doing that and develop our decision making. In times where there's no playbook and experience, the people around your table are the most knowledgeable people because they know your community, they know your staff, they know your students, and they're very valuable in this point in time. You got to surround yourself with people who think outside the box. Thinking outside the box and being creative is important when you deal with uncertainty because, as I've said previously, nothing that we're going to do has ever been done before. So we got to be able to think outside the box. We got to be able to be creative. Don't accept the thought that it can't be done. So many times we've been told, well, we really just can't do it that way. And I come back and say, we can. We may not be able to afford to once we get to it. We may not want to once we figure it out. But there is a way to get things done. So let's get into the weeds and let's figure things out instead of just easily saying it can't be done, let's move on. Let's dig deep into situations. And challenge your team to take this challenging situation and turn it into an innovative situation. I told our staff back in March that if we start school in August, like we ended in March, then we've done a disservice to our kids. So challenge them to be innovative. Look at this challenge as an opportunity to make things better, not only for now, not only for this coming year, but for years to come. Let's change education. Let's change our workplace, whatever it might be. And keep the main thing the main thing. For me, my business, my why is our students. Keep focused on your students, what they need, social, emotional, physical needs, whatever they need. Keep your main thing the main thing. And the last thing the third one is communicate your plan in phases. I heard a real good podcast with Navy SEAL Chad Wright. Chad Wright talked about how he got through SEAL training. that some of the people who didn't make it through SEAL trainings because they tried to see the end before they could get through what's going on right now. So you've got to stay present. He talked about his phases were to get to breakfast. If he could get to breakfast, then he could survive to breakfast. Then it was to get to lunch. And I think when you're dealing with uncertain times, I think that's key. For the last 6 months, we've been phasing. Before we can go to B, we got to make sure A's taken care of. So make sure that you're keeping things in the present. You're not overthinking. You're not trying to get your skis or get out in front of your skis and focusing on the finished product because sometimes that's what will drive you crazy is just knowing that the finished product is out there and you don't know how to get to it. So let's just take baby steps to get there and do it as a team. Communication is not only just putting information out. Communication is listening. As a leader, your best communication tool are your two ears. You've got to listen to your team. You've got to understand where they're coming from and put yourself in their shoes and be a listener before you can ever be a doer. Communication is a great accountability tool. I truly believe that we over communicate because if I put it out there that we're going to do something, then I've told my community I'm going to do it. Now I'm accountable to them. If I keep it close to my chest, then I'm only accountable to myself. So I'm a firm believer in share your vision. Share your vision, tell people where you want to go, and then have them keep you accountable for getting there. And lastly, when it comes to communication, especially in uncharted times, don't forget that personal touch. Don't just send emails. Don't just send text messages. We have challenged our people. Anytime someone has a question and sends us an email question, we make a phone call. People want to hear that calming voice. They want to understand. They want to know that there's people actually listening to them. So you can't over communicate and you can't overdo that personal choice. So again, when you talk about leadership, especially navigating uncertain times, involve others, have lots of spaghetti dinners with your team, and do not risk over communicating. So thank you for your time. I hope that this has been valuable and helpful, and I hope to see you down the road sometime.